for a very, very specific creed, a very, very specific type of believer, and yet the sheer musicality of his output is such that you don't need to be a believing Christian, you don't need to be a Lutheran, you don't need to be a trained organist or a trained singer to subscribe to the emotions that are imbued by Bach in this music, and also to sense the euphoria and the ecstasy of his music making.
By 1730, when Bach was 45, his gigantic cantata production had slowed down considerably. He became deeply unhappy with conditions for church music at Leipzig. In a memorandum to the Leipzig City Council, he explained his grievances.
In conclusion, I find it necessary to append the enumeration of the present alumni, to indicate the proficiency of each in musicis, and thus to leave it to riper reflection whether in such circumstances the music can continue to be maintained, or whether its still greater decline is to be feared. It is, however, necessary to divide the whole group into 3 classes. Total 17 usable, 20 not yet usable, and 17 unfit.
Also wenn wir uns Bachs Brief an den Rat der Stadt Leipzig anschauen, in dem er den Entwurf einer wohlbestallten Kirchenmusik vorlegt, haben wir ein sehr gutes Beispiel, um zu sehen, zu welchem Gefühlsreichtum und zu welcher breiten Palette an Gefühlen Bach fähig war. Wir haben hier also sowohl seine weiche Sensibilität und Empfänglichkeit und Mitschwingungsfähigkeit im Emotionalen, wie auch Leidenschaftlichkeit, Kampfgeist und Auseinandersetzungsbereitschaft, wenn es ihm um eine wichtige Sache ging. Da stellt er sich also mit vollem Engagement dahinter und kämpft dann auch. Da können auch scharfe Worte einmal fallen, ja, wenn es ihm wichtig ist, oder wenn er sich mit Dummheit und Borniertheit auseinandersetzen muss und Unfähigkeit, kann ihm der Kragen platzen. Das ist also in diesem dynamischen Temperament unbedingt enthalten. Aber er hat eben auch die andere Seite, die Wärme, die Kontaktfähigkeit, auch Genussfähigkeit und Freude am Leben, die also Streitsucht, Zänkischkeit einfach ausschließen. Das ist unhaltbar, diese Merkmale als wesensbestimmend für Bach hinzustellen. Geht einfach graphologisch überhaupt nicht zu belegen.
Als man sich im Jahre 1894 dazu entschloss, die sterblichen Überreste Johann Sebastian Bachs auszugraben, stieß man an der angegebenen Stelle auf einen Eichensarg, der das Skelett eines etwa 70-jährigen Mannes enthielt. Der Anatom Wilhelm Hiss wurde herangezogen, um die Gebeine als die Johann Sebastian Bachs zu identifizieren. Er zog dazu das Hausmannporträt, das einzig authentische Altersbildnis Johann Sebastian Bachs, heran und konnte zeigen, dass die Schädelformen mit denen des Porträts weitgehend übereinstimmten.
Bach's skull was by no means normal in appearance, and certainly many of the aspects of the brain that are linked to hearing and auditory processing were clearly abnormally enlarged, so much so that they had left abnormal markings on the inside of the skull. So, for example, the temporal lobes of the brain, which are the parts of the brain that sit nearest the ears, and other parts involved with auditory processing, listening to music and analysing it or listening to sounds, were clearly abnormally enlarged in Bach. And also the cochlea, which is the inner ear, again the part involved in decoding sounds, was also abnormally large. Now, this raises a very interesting question, which is, where does this lead us in terms of understanding the neurophysiology of musical genius? Is it the case that Bach was born, as it were, with a musical brain, or was it the case that listening and being involved in music over many years actually altered his brain architecture.
Bach found a new challenge when he took over the direction of the Collegium Musicum, or Music Society, in Leipzig. The concerts were held once a week at Zimmermann's Coffee House. In 1735, Bach wrote his coffee cantata, a kind of commercial for Zimmermann's business. After 1734, Bach's already stagnating situation in Leipzig deteriorated when a new rector at St. Thomas's wanted less attention given to church music. Their disagreements were finally resolved by the Saxonian court in Dresden after Bach was appointed honorary Kapellmeister and composer to the Elector of Saxony. Bach now began to withdraw into a kind of self-styled retirement and devoted himself only to projects of his own choice. His music now developed in a fresh direction, partly influenced by the new galant style he had heard in Dresden.
Le style galant, qui est une chose, disons, qui va vers le rococo ou prend distance vis-à-vis